Pooh versus Bambi #2, we did like the first issue. It was fun. We did not think it was going to be as good as it was. And did something that we didn't expect with Pooh, Bambi, and all of these animals from the 100 Acre Woods. They're part of a paramilitary squad, like the A-Team. And I'll give you the credits and then we'll get into it again. Another issue where I think that it will surprise people of how good it kind of is. But yeah, the Pooh vs. Bambi issue 2 of 3. Story by Joe Abruzza, Dave Franchini, David Wohl, and Noah Mitchell. Written by Noah Mitchell, artwork by Jordi Tarragona. Colors by Juan Manuel Rodriguez, letters by Taylor Esposito of Ghost Glyph Studios. And I will give a shout out to Jody Tarragona. Again, the art is pretty darn good. Yeah. There's a bunch of cool things. And if you were wondering, yes, there is a cheesecake cover. It's Cinescope. That's what they do. If they didn't do that, the idea that they have a Pooh versus Bambi book, that makes sense. If they didn't have a cheesecake foot, I think I'd lose my mind. Like, that don't make no sense. So you go into this issue, and we had Christopher Robin come in and grab Pooh. Pooh was kind of hiding out. He was trying to stay, off the radar, off the grid. They all had separated after he had killed Bambi. And when you get to this, he's thinking back and you have a flashback, and it's nice. But you already see that Bambi isn't as gung-ho to be part of this whole squad than, say, Pooh was. Bambi kind of wants to play games, and it makes it kind of sad, the idea that what happened to Bambi is bad because Bambi just wanted to have fun, like the girls in Cyndi Lauper. And now, all of a sudden, they're in this militaristic deal, but also you get this two-gun rootin' tootin' Pooh that does play out as they go, because when we get to the present, that was given to him by Christopher Robin, the idea of giving him these dual guns and then saying that he's a good shot, which we kind of know, but you end up having Pooh in the present where they fly them to a base, and that girl that he fought with, who was Piglet. Yeah. Again, these are the wink winks of that. She looks like Harley Quinn. Oh yeah, she ends up being sassy as all heck, and really is like, she does not seem to like Pooh or any animal hybrids like this. She seems to have something, and she talks about her father at points and things. So we're probably going to find out some idea. My dad was killed by this, or my dad was this, whatever it would be. But you end up having Pooh, has to stink to the high heavens, in that, he's there with a hoodie that barely his shirt doesn't go over his belly. He's got ripped sweats. Like
he literally says later in the issue, this is the first shower I've had in years. It's just like, God.
Oh my God. And then though, he did the classic of putting the same clothes back on because they don't have clothes that fit him. He's huge.
Yeah.
He's humongous. And so with that, you do have Christopher Robin say, get yourself a shower, come back, we'll figure this out. And it all comes down to this idea that Tigger, who we saw before, ripping people apart and eating them, had gone off on a mission because Tigger couldn't lay low. Had to get involved. So got involved, and they sent her to go and get this Professor Kanga, this whole idea. Now, in that, it's so funny that I never even connected the idea. Okay, Professor Kanga, I get, we're going to get Pooh, or Roo, I mean. The idea of having Roo when we do get Roo is so cool because, again, you're just having these things happen. But they give the mission. We're going to do this. We're going to send Piglet and her squad with you. We're going to take over this. We're going to do this for the good of everything, whatnot. The worst part, though, is when he does get a shower, starts thinking of Tigger and how Tigger is. I like they gave him a gift basket. There for the whole facility. Even then, when he is there and he's like showering, he's just knocking stuff over. It's such a crazy scene.
He's still got empty booze on the shower
it's
floor.
All just on there on the floor. And I'm like, what are you doing? So then what he does, he has this crazy look because he still has his shirt that doesn't cover his belly, his ripped up jean short things, but he also has belts around to keep him sturdy. It's very odd the way he plays it when he comes out and sees I'm with this Piglet. But worse than that, Christopher Robin is gone. General Robin is gone. He had to be called off, and this other nefarious-looking guy who just looks mean, he's in charge now. And you can only think, okay, something happened to Christopher Robin, obviously, and they're trying to do this stuff, and they're going to take over. It seems bad at the moment.
Yeah.
But then they just you don't deal with that just yet. You instead have Piglet and her squad go off with Pooh, and ends up where they're going to an island. They track this, Kanga to an island. And the deal, I love when you have Piglet say, you stay near me. I need to see you at all times. Everybody keep an eye on. He's like, it's an island. I can't go anywhere. Like, well, where do you think I'm going to go? And we know what Pooh's all about. He's going to do the mission. Yeah, I think that what she's reacting to is, the last mission you were on, you ended up killing your best friend Bambi, but there was circumstances there. It just was a weird deal of, really stressing. Stay with me. Yeah, it was. And when you're saying that, I think that you're really pushing through dialogue this time of the I hate you until you're my best friend and teammate, because she doesn't want any parts of him. You do this, you do that. She's afraid that he might actually just start pretty much eating the rest of her squad. Like, she thinks that he should not be here. She's mad about it, but she's forced to do it. He doesn't even have a uniform. She says like 5 times, is that what you're wearing? Because he just has his regular clothes. He said they didn't have a uniform to fit me. And so they go off. But as they're going, I'll let you go there because we're about halfway. But they end up having problems. I mean, they're really the biggest thing that Piglet is worried about is Pooh. But when they get near the island, there's more problems. They're not really welcome, right?
Yeah, their plane starts getting attacked. And she's immediately like, we need to hold on for a few more minutes. We can make it close to the island. And Pooh's like, forget that. This thing's about to blow. So he immediately just opens the bomb doors and just jumps out. And she's like, crap. Okay, everybody deploy. And as soon as they deploy, they realize they're being attacked by a bunch of, what are these, seagull monsters?
Men, seagulls? They're crazy, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. I don't know what the heck they are. They're just giant birdmen or whatever.
Yeah, and they're just attacking.
They're just ripping soldiers to shreds. They even get her parachute piglets, and she has to cut away the line, free fall into the jungle. It's so cool. But when she gets to the bottom, Jim, there's a bunch of spiders.
Then there's spiders, but they're spiders that, again, where this isn't quite the idea of, like, I'm saying, oh, that's a anthropomorphic spider. It's a talking spider that's horrendous.
It's a talking spider that's the size of an SUV.
Oh, it's huge. And it's like, oh, yeah, here you go. And really talking a lot of crap of, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to put you in a cocoon. You see that there's already soldiers in cocoons, that they look dead.
Some of them already dead.
Yeah, already done. And that's when, again, Pooh, who did separate, all this stuff went down, comes in and just starts wrecking a house.
Body slams the spider. It's so awesome. He rips off her legs and starts impaling her with her own legs, and all the other spiders are like, hey, look at this a-hole. Kill him.
And that's the weird thing is at that point I didn't realize there were that many spiders. I thought it was just the one, and then they all come attacking. But that's when, Pooh's just ripping them apart, but realizes at one point, we got to get out of here. Yeah. And does grab Piglet.
Hands her a gun.
Yeah, and gets one of those 2 guns. He's the dual wielder.
He's like, don't lose this.
Robin. Yeah, it's pretty cool that these mean something to him. But he needs her to fight and says, how's your shot? It's better than yours. Prove it. And so as they're running away,
headshot after headshot after headshot,
she's on his shoulder, pointing like behind them and shooting. And like you said, headshot.
It's so cool.
Pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. So then when they get to a point where there's still a bunch there, they end up at the side of a cliff that they jump in and land at the bottom of a waterfall. No idea.
He's like, hey, you're a good shot. How about your swimming? And she's like, why are you asking that?
Yeah. And he's, never mind. And then they fall into the water. Again, this is just pure out action scene.
Oh, yeah.
After action scene. So then the river goes and they're kind of following the river there. I mean, it's sweeping them down. And when they get out, they're there pretty much at the base they need to be. It's very convenient there, but that's where they are. Yeah. So they're sitting there, and now they're kind of like, now they're becoming friends. Oh my God, and a couple jokes, thanks a lot, here's your gun, and then even then he says, no, you're going to need it. Yeah, and it's weird too, at that point, I actually thought that he almost was the point where he wasn't going to use a gun anymore because of what happened with Bambi.
He still got the other pistol.
But he still has it, and when you go, it just seemed like it was something else the way he says, No, you hang on to it. I imagine you'll need it, but he's right. He doesn't want to have to give it to her again. And then he says, I don't think there's much of a guard deal going on here. And she's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, we've been standing here for like 15 minutes and nobody's come by. Nobody's checked on anything.
Nobody's trying to shoot us.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm just going to, he just rips apart this fence. He uses his nail. Boom. He rips through it. It's pretty cool and says, after you, milady. And she goes in, and they're going to go in to find this Kanga, which they do find pretty quickly has changed a bit, even where Pooh says, and they're like, you don't look the same, because she's kind of become pretty much a kangaroo now.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, her name was Candace Gardner, but they called her Kanga, and now she's a kangaroo. So it's kind of that funny play. But yeah, it says, you look different than I thought you would. And it's like, oh, the feeling's mutual.
Have you lost weight?
Yeah, you've really let yourself go. He's like, I'm sorry, we met. And she says, and this is where the info they were trying to find at that one point that ended up really turning Bambi was that he found out that we weren't just these orphans, that this was more of a plan than we thought it was. We were duped as
we were
kids,
engineered.
Yeah, and engineered. So when she says, oh, no, I was part of the team, like almost saying, she says, like, pretty much I was kind of like a distant aunt. She says, and I like the way it's explained. Usually in these things you'll have, well, I made you, so I'm your mom. She's like, yeah, I did some of the side work.
Yeah, I figured out that
I'm more of your aunt. So if that's the case, I want you to meet your cousin, and that's Rue. And I thought, okay, that's cool. And it is part of the 100 Acre Woods, if you didn't realize. But that Rue is a lot smaller than this. This Rue is huge, wearing what looks like should be a Hawaiian shirt, but kind of has this weird 80s kind of pattern look of it, and just comes in and wallops Pooh and says,
Pooh
"Evening,
is
cousin."
bleeding.
Oh yeah, just destroyed. And it's funny too, because at a point here you do have Piglet could shoot him, and he says no, and even says before, like, the rules are we don't kill animals, the deal. But yeah, he just wants to fight him. I think that Pooh also wants to kind of just test his deal, and he gets the crap kicked out of him too. But boy,
still got it.
Yeah, Rue is done. I mean, just like it seems like eyes rolling, and I'm like, what's happening? But they end up even that where again, Piglet and him are becoming more and more friends. Of the teamwork makes the dream work. They want to say here. Yeah. He even interrupts her.
I just love he says, "Christ, my back."
Yeah, and then she says, "I'll get you some ibuprofen." It is kind of like that idea. Hey, old man, like, let's go. So in that, you get this play where they end up where they go to the next place, and there's Tigger. But as the woman deal of it...
we didn't mention she was not actually an experiment. They revealed that earlier with Christopher Robin. She's actually a natural-born were-tiger, which I'm like, what the heck is that? That sounds awesome.
And it's so weird. And the idea, again, that makes more sense of her just ripping apart people and eating them, too, that she turns from a woman into Tigger. And so when you have that, she's in the woman form and says, hey, tell your friend to put the gun down. Piglet said, I ain't putting nothing down. Like, I don't trust any of this. They just got attacked by Rue.
Oh, yeah.
And this is, again, where Pooh says, no, listen to what she's saying. Put it down. We can trust her. This is Tigger. I know her. And even at points talking in where they're doing this kind of reconnaissance, kind of going in, says, if it was me, Tigger, and Bambi, boy, we'd have this done. We were the best. Yeah. We were the Trinity. We got it done. So Tigger says, put your gun down. Tell your friend to put. Does. And then immediately a bunch of soldiers come up and put their guns at them. And it's like, oh, man. And I actually do like Piglet a lot, where she's like, I knew it. Like, again, reminds me of Harley Quinn in the character design and a little, but not over
she
the
is
top
very
jokey.
Harley Quinn.
You know what I mean? It's more of like the Harley that was always pissed off because everything's going wrong, but you see.
Yes.
But yeah, says, I knew it. And then it says where, again, I don't know why, but Tigger does seem genuine as saying, you'll be okay. Like, this isn't anything that's bad. I'm like, at this point, you don't have to lie. They have guns on everybody. Like, and she says, it'll be okay. You'll see. And then Pooh says, I hope you're right. And then you end up having, and you see, by the way, it's Bambi. Says, tut, tut, how time flies. And you end up with like, oh my, and I actually have the idea. I love this bit where you have Pooh just, no, how? And then there's Piglet like, is that? I actually just thought, because obviously Piglet would know because of all the info that they've been told and things like that in the past. She even said at one point she understood and knew that the idea was that Pooh killed Bambi. But I want to be, who the heck's that? But he says, is that Bambi? And we end you know what the best part is? It's so goofy. End with the same line as the first one, but it makes it funny to me, like silly old bear. And it was Christopher Robin before. Remember, Christopher Robin disappeared on what they said was an important mission. We'll have to see what that means to then get the Bambi here. And it's businessman Bambi who's there in a suit and seems to be, lovers
living his
with
best
Tigger,
life,
right? Tigger and all that, and having this like crazy metal, maybe nanotech thing of horns and stuff. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good again. I thought it was
Yeah,
really
I
good in
liked
the way
it.
you had. We didn't mention at one point you have a bunch of First Blood. We had we had the Predator handshake in the first. We thought it was great.
Yeah.
And then we have First Blood. I didn't draw First Blood. You draw First Blood. You have all of that going on. And then even just as it progresses, I just think, and again, if people are going to laugh at us or whatnot, give it a try first. And yeah, I don't either, because it is well done. And it's well done beyond the idea of a lot of these things, how I could stress this is a lot of these things don't ever get thought out beyond the title.
Yes.
You end up where I would say to you, Pooh versus Bambi, right? And we'd laugh, and then we'd stop laughing and go, all right, let's write it. Like no other idea of just that. And it could have been that they were, almost like a Planet Hulk, that they had to. No, there's actually more things involved with it, with that. Again, it's playing up the idea that it's cliche and tropey because it's dealing with almost every action movie shoved together, but it's a Pooh and Bambi story. That's all the action and things shoved in. You even get in this the idea of the guy who wanted to walk away from all that and got pulled back once again and wants to prove that he still has it when Pooh's fighting, Roo. Says, yeah, I still got it. Like, all that is fun. I thought that was really fun and playing these characters, but don't want to go too much because people make fun of me. But what would you give it?
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed this issue. The artwork is spectacular. Everything about, like you said, this is just, it's a very cliche, tropey story, but you know what? They put thought into it. They didn't half-ass it. They treated it seriously, and they actually worked on the story. And you know what? It pays off in dividends. This is a lot of fun. Too. I've had the most fun with this book than any other book in the past 3 months.
And really, when we end up telling everybody, we do a review and it's something like this type of book and we say the first issue is great, you really do right away worry the next issue is going to end up where people are going to say, oh, look, this wasn't as good as you thought. I mean, people just want to throw shade at anybody. And I liked it. And what I think, too, it's one thing to have an entire story cliche, but it's another thing to wink at action movies or set up scenes in a way that we know because we've seen it before, but do it in a fresh way. It has that deal. And we've seen this in certain books and things like that. I think it's playing it up very well. So I'm an 8 out of 10 as well. And just say, even if you have to wait for the trade, I think this is something you should check out.